Hello lovely sewing friends, welcome back to my sewing room in the north of England. Today I'm going to be making a nice bit of patchwork and then I'm going to be making it into an easy quilted tote bag. So the process is I'm showing it start to finish, although I haven't made all the decisions about how to do it yet. I have decided that unlike what I normally do, if you watch my videos you'll know I like to use up my scraps. I'm not doing that today. I've got this lovely autumny fabric, lovely prints, and my last video was a autumn inspired table runner, and if you've watched that you'll know that I did get into a little bit of a muddle with it because it was a bit too wavy. I did wavy quilting, which I like to do. It was a bit too wavy, and if there's one thing you need for something that's going on a table, you need it to be flat, and it wasn't totally flat. Thankfully, after lots of pressing and quilting lines of stitching, it is flat, but I just made life a little bit too difficult for myself. So my rule today is I'm having 5-inch squares. It's going to be all cut from this fabric. I have also got a little bit tired of listening to my old Husqvarna. It makes such a groany, horrible noise that I've got out my lovely old Singer again. So although it's got no back stitch on it and it can sometimes be a bit temperamental, I'm going to give it a go. So I hope you enjoy watching. I'd love to know what you think, and let's get on with it. These are the fabrics I've got to choose from. I actually love them all, and I made a bag for my friend the other day. It's her birthday and she was absolutely over the moon with it, so it's inspired me to make one for myself. It's probably going to end up being used as a project bag. And I'm taking a little trip shortly, and I'm probably going to end up needing to bag up quite a bit of stuff. So I thought I'd treat myself to a not made from scraps patchwork bag. I love this one. I love the way the colours match the colours on the Singer. So some of you might have wondered how I got the name for my channel, and so although my name is Wendy, and my close friends and family, they all call me Nonny, and I've been called that since I was very small because my sister, who is only 1 year older than me, unfortunately when she was young, she was completely deaf. She did recover. She's not deaf now, but she was deaf on and off for a lot of her childhood. And when she learnt to speak, that was what she called me. She called me Nonny because she couldn't actually say Wendy, and it stuck. So I actually like my name, and but it is only my close friends who call me it. When I go out and people ask me what my name is, I tell them my name is Wendy, but I don't really feel like Wendy. I feel like Nonny, and so please feel free to call me that because I would be thrilled actually. So I'm not sure how many of these I need yet, but I'll tell you in a minute how many it's going to be. Absolutely loving these autumny prints. So I might have mentioned before, I'm taking a little trip shortly. I'm going down to see my friend in Cornwall. She lives right down in the bottom of Cornwall, near Penzance, and I've known her since I was 11. So yes, you guessed it, she does call me Nonny. And so we are staying near her, staying down there for a few days. And if you've watched my other videos, you'll know that I have been known to take my Husqvarna, because although I've just been moaning about it, it is a very portable machine. And I took it to Scotland last year, but I've decided I'm not taking any sewing machine away with me, but I am going to bag up some of my projects that need to be finished off. Like for instance, I've made a start on my Christmas quilts. I thought I might have 2 or 3 by now, but I've actually only got 1 ready to be hand bound. I don't know how you say that, but I don't know how you say that. But I stitched the binding on the sewing machine, and then I finish it by hand because that is the only way I can make it neat. I have tried the other ways. I can do self-binding quilts, but if it's the one where you sew it with the machine both sides, I always make a mess of it, and I'm never happy with it. And I've tried, and I don't do that anymore. I just sew it on the right side, and then I finish it off on the other side by hand. So I've got those to take. I've got some badges to sew on, some uniforms for a friend, and so on and so on. So I'm doing that while I'm away, and so the next video after this one, it'll be me preparing for my trip. So look out for that one, and if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so, because I post videos. I normally post 1 a week. Sometimes I post 2 a week. Occasionally take a gap, but not very often. I did have a big gap last summer, but I've been posting regularly since the beginning of the summer, and I intend to carry on doing that. And my videos are normally quite scrappy projects. I like using up leftovers. I like making stuff up as I go along. But I've had my fingers burn a little bit just recently. I've had a few projects that have almost gone completely wrong. If you're feeling strong, watch my Penrose quilt, which is another Christmas present, and that's nearly ready to be bound. That nearly went completely wrong. Thankfully not. But it was because I was basically winging it. But I did enjoy it. But so this is why this project is going to be pretty straightforward. So let's see how many we've got now. Now I'm making this with patchwork, but you can just make this with a straight piece of fabric, and I put all the measurements for the finished piece of fabric that you would need. So the finished piece of patchwork that you would need, or the piece of fabric that you would need, in the description. I think I'm going to pin the next row because I'm getting mixed up. If you're just like me to sew the wrong side together, and then I'll need to unpick it. Done quite enough of that recently, thank you very much, with trying to do my other quilts and trying to fix things. I enjoy doing that sometimes, but not always. I'm adjusting the foot pressure because I had it right down because I was trying to sew with this machine with some glittery fabric. And that was one of the things I did to try and get it going, but it wasn't working, and Just trying to get it back to the right tension. What's quite nice is not having to put music over the sound of the machine, which is what I normally have to do, because I don't know how much it bothers people, but it really bothers me. And so I end up just, as soon as I can hear the machine, I put some music over it. I'd like to know what you think about that, actually. I don't mind the sound of this machine, and isn't it funny that it's 100 years old and it just makes such a better sound? Well, the motor's not 100 years old, but this machine is 100 years old. I don't mind the sound of this one. I've got a bit of a problem with the tension here. Just living with it at the moment. I'm not sure why. That's all the rows sewn together. Now I just need to give them a bit of a press. Oh, what have I done there? Oops. I've got one that's a bit smaller than the rest. Not sure what to do about that. Whether to unpick it or trim it down and have a row that's a bit narrower. What do you do? Right, silly me. Okay, so I'll just give these a press. So press those alternate ways. I think I got this right. When you go to sew that, yeah. So then you sew, if you press those up and those down then when you go to sew that to that, the seam allowance goes opposite direction so you don't get too much bulk. Having said that, some of my squares might not be exactly whoopsie, so they might not match up anyway, but you get the idea. Right, so this is the one that's a bit, so that is down, this one's up. That's up away from me, by the way, not up away from you. So they go that way. Right, okay, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to trim it down. Not sure anybody's going to scrutinise the side of my bag and go, hey, that row's not the same size as the rest. Don't think anyone's going to do that. So this is down. Yeah, this one up. So if you're just going to make this with a piece of whole fabric, then you can just skip to. Always put timestamps in my videos, so you can just skip to that bit. Apologies for the nature of this clip, but my camera battery ran down, so I switched to my phone, and I've discovered that there's a glitch in the software that I use, the video editing software, that meant that I couldn't correct this phone clip. But basically, I cut out a piece of batting a little bit bigger than the size of the patchwork, and then I quilted it to the patchwork along the lines of where the squares are. Then trimmed off the piece of quilting the size I needed, and then I cut from a piece of contrast fabric 2 strips for the straps, and they measure 4 inches wide by 22 inches long. Optionally, you can then cut a further 22-inch long strip of batting for each handle, measuring 3/4 of an inch wide, and insert that into the straps for extra strengths. Press in 1/2 inch at either side of each strap. Insert the piece of batting so that it's tucked into the crease of where the folded in part is. Fold over the strap and pin it in place. I also gave my straps a press at this point because they didn't seem to want to lie flat. Then took them over to the sewing machine and sewed 3 lines of stitches. Just trim them down to make sure that they're both exactly the same length at this point. Fold a piece of fabric in half and pin up the sides. Cut a piece of lining fabric the same size and sew up both sides, leaving a gap in one side of about 4 inches so that you can turn the bag out when it's finished. I then boxed the corners, as you see me doing here, by folding the seam flat in the corner, lining up the 2-inch mark on the ruler with the sewn line, and then moving the ruler down until the 4-inch mark, the 0 and the 4-inch mark were either side, and then mark that across with a pencil and put a pen in. do this in both corners and then also do the same thing on the lining. Then sew across the pencil line that you've marked. Of course, in my case, I had to turn around the work and go back again because I've got no reverse on this machine. Unfortunately, I forgot to leave a gap in the lining, which I should have done. So I'll just make a gap now. I make that down the side, just wide enough to get your hand in. I think it's looking quite cute, and it's quite nice and fat. I've deliberately done it with quite a big base so that hopefully, if I'm using it as a work bag, to some extent it can stand up. So the thing to do now is get the two side seams like that. I've got a bit of wonkiness there, look. I'll just smooth that off a bit. So just get the side seams like that. Well, it's not very good, is it? Look. That's all right. Right, so the handles are going to go just inside there like that. So that measurement there is so between there and there is 6 inches. I'll put all the measurements like that in the description. So I'm going to pin these like this with a pin in each side of the strap, because the last thing you want is for your strap to do that. You want it to be absolutely perpendicular to the top edge. Then I'm going to get the lining and put it inside out, so right sides together with the outer. going to match up the side seams. I'm being a bit gentle with the side seams because I couldn't backstitch them because there's no backstitch on that machine. So that they don't pull apart, I'm just being a bit careful. Match up this side seam. So now I'm going to sew all the way around here. That's a bit silly. I've pinned it to one of the seams in the patchwork. Not the side seam. Whoopsie. So now I just need to sew all the way around there. Quite pleased with this. Got myself a little project bag to take on holiday. So what I was trying to do is, before I close up the gap in the seam, I check all the seams and the handles. So check that to make sure that I've got a pin left in there, that's not come loose. That's okay. And then just check these side seams. They seem okay. So I just give this a bit of a press. So I'm just going to top stitch all the way around here now. Then just sew up the gap in the lining and your bag is finished. Well, it's finished. I'm quite pleased with it. I'm quite pleased with the wide base because it means that I can stack things in it. It's all ready for me to take on holiday as a project bag. Not quite sure which project's going to go in it yet. and I went with this stripy lining mainly because that's what I had, and the colours sort of go. I might have preferred something with a polka dot, or I don't know. What do you think about linings? Well, thanks for watching, lovely stitchers. Let me know what you're working on at the moment. Will you make one of these? I'd love to have inspired you. I'll put all of the requirements in the description if you want to make one yourself, and you'll see this again in the next video because I'm going to be taking it away with me. Thanks for watching.